Mr. Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the first comment I want to make is about clarification on Mr. Hill's comments. He's been to the City Council meeting and public comments on a couple of occasions talking about the Bayshore Park and issues related to access. And the council has recently considered moving forward with the design and construction of that. I think we're out with a request for proposal now for a design build contract on improving that park area. And part of that will be a public input process so that Mr. Hill and anyone else who has an interest will have access to talking to the designers and the park board and so forth about, I don't know exactly how the public process is going to work, but we clearly are going to have a public process where people can give their input to the design of that to that park area. Next, I wanted to mention, it's kind of been talked about already, but this weekend, the rest of this week and this weekend are going to be very busy, good activities in Corpus Christi. One of the events that will be here will be the Wings Over South Texas. It's an air show, and the Blue Angels will be here. That'll be Saturday and Sunday this coming weekend. We've got the Fiesta de la Flor, which has been mentioned here already. That will be Friday and Saturday. There will be a Texas American Waterworks conference being sponsored and hosted here in Corpus Christi. That'll be tomorrow through the end of the week. We expect to have somewhere between 2,000 and 3,500 visitors for that event. And the Corpus Christi Hooks will be playing every day between April 16th and April 21st. So, I don't know, occasionally somebody will say there's nothing to do in Corpus Christi, but I think that there's a lot to do in Corpus Christi. Not just this weekend, but always. This weekend particularly. The storm that came in this morning, it actually surprised me a little bit, and it was stronger than I had anticipated. I had to change some of my plans on getting to work this morning in order to navigate the storm. And our emergency operations center was activated to handle some of the issues. Our folks in the emergency operations, emergency planning are getting better. I can tell you that from just the perspective of 3 or 4 years now, they are much better today than they were several years ago. And the technology is better, the cooperation is better, the training internal, the cooperation between jurisdictions, all of that is just exponentially better than it used to be. There was a lot of flooding this morning. It's impossible to prevent all the flooding. What you have to do is manage it. I mean, the whole definition of a disaster is an event that you can't handle. So you build your capacity, you try to turn what would normally be a disaster into an emergency, but Mother Nature has a way of exceeding your abilities. And we are going to have disasters. And I'm saying that because hurricane season is approaching, and I want you to know that we are prepared for a hurricane season. Our emergency operations will be right up to snuff by the 1st of June. And events like took place this morning where we had the requirement to open our emergency operations center. These social events that I just mentioned are opportunities for us to voluntarily open the emergency operations center. Number one, they help us practice. They help us manage the events from the city service standpoint, but they also give us an opportunity to practice the emergency operations skills that we need to have in case there is a disaster that strikes. So we're engaged with that. I will say that we had flooding, we had trees down, we had electric power outages. Some of that's still out there. Anybody in the city that still needs help or doesn't think we're working on it or thinks we might have missed something can call 826-2489. That's our city call center. If you can't remember the numbers, think of 826-CITY, and we'd be happy to receive any information that people have and respond to it. I think that's all I have this morning.
Mayor, I was going to relate to a wonderful thing happened. My wife's nephew called, and he comes to town once a month, stays in hotels, and called, I guess, this morning and said, I can't find a hotel anywhere for the rest of the week. And so now if I can just get him a cook while he stays with us. But anyhow, that's the people have come. There's no more hotel rooms, which is actually very cool.
Yeah, it really is very cool. Mrs. McIntyre.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. I just had a couple of texts and calls about the ability to have any additional brush pickup because of the storm. Is there anything other than bringing it to a collection center or holding it until pickup that can be done?
As of a few minutes before the beginning of this meeting, our people were still evaluating the extent of the damage, and I think that is a possibility, but I'm waiting to hear back from them to see if the damage has been extensive enough to justify that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked that, Mrs. McIntyre. And we'll keep people posted. Thank you, Mr. Olson. Very informative and timely.